Hey, it's good to be back. Welcome into PTN Extra. Alyssa Orange alongside Courtney Mims and Mike Irwin. Guys, we are gearing up for some baseball. It has been a fun week as we await this Fayetteville Regional. Arkansas, the 5 seed. They are paired up with the 12 seed, which is Virginia, which would be really cool for me if the Cavaliers make their way over here, but that's jumping ahead a little bit. So let's talk about this Fayetteville Regional. And the biggest thing that we have talked about off camera is pitching. What does Matt Hobbs and Dave Van Horn do with this staff? Who do they start game one? Mike, what do you think?
Well, and it's mainly a starting pitching issue. I think their bullpen, they know what they've got. What's happened is, in the last few weeks, you had this regular rotation all through the year, and then 2 of them ended up at various times in the bullpen. I just don't think they're going to go with Hagen Smith against SEMO. I don't think it would be a bad idea with the home runs they hit, but I think they'll save him for Louisiana Tech if they win. But who they're going to go, that's an issue. We sat and talked about it. I wouldn't want to have to make that decision because you're looking for a pitcher, a starting pitcher that doesn't give up home runs, because that's what these guys do. They hit home runs, 98 on the season. And these aren't a bunch of typical college guys. They're older. And Dave Van Horn said that, and they've got a good road record. So you can't overlook them. The only thing I would say is whatever you do, whoever you start, don't walk batters, don't hit batters. Because when you put people on base and then they hit a home run, it becomes an issue.
It's been the Achilles heel for this Arkansas pitching staff is, look, a 1-run home run's not going to hurt you. It's when you give up those free bases, you've got guys on the bases and they hit 2, 3-run home runs. I like how you kind of just avoided answering my question. Gage Wood is my answer. I said it earlier this week on the radio. I think you go with Gage Wood in game 1 against SEMO. That's my answer. Courtney, what about you?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth like Mike. I really don't want to be Dave Van Horn because he has to make that tough decision. I've looked at it like he wants to win game 1. And so part of me thinks Hagen Smith, well, I don't think he will start him in this game. I do think he's being seriously considered as their starter because I'm going, if you want a guy that doesn't give up home runs, that doesn't give up doubles. You mentioned the home runs, but SEMO has hit like over 100 doubles this season as well. Those are power hitters. And so I'm looking at a guy that limits that. That's Hagen Smith right now. You go through that entire pitching staff, and that's Hagen Smith. So do you take a chance on a guy like Gage Wood? I would say yes. I like that answer. Mason Molina, do you go with him? I've looked at his stats, and I'm like, man, he's given up 9 home runs this season, so maybe you don't go with a guy like that. Do you try out Brady Tiger? He's only given up 6 home runs this year, I think 4 or 5 doubles, so okay. Do you go with him? Do you give him a chance? He hasn't been doing so well down the stretch. It's a hard question to answer, but I think I like Gage Wood. I think if you go down the entire pitching staff, you like a guy like Gage Wood to go to in that game.
And I think you could be okay using more arms in game 1 against SEMO because you look ahead and you got Hagen Smith and you're hoping you're only having to use Hagen, maybe one other person, and then you close it out with Gabe Gackle. In game 1, you can go Gage Wood, and if things aren't going well, you can go to Christian Fouch, who is pitching really well, or a Jake Faraday that you really, really like. I think Will McIntyre has to be the guy, the Will McIntyre we have seen in the postseasons the past couple of years, because he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit. But he is a guy that rose to the occasion for them 2 years ago, and even back in 2022 for that College World Series. So we'll see what happens. That's what I think. Again, I don't have to be Dave Van Horn. I don't
None of us have to be Dave
so we
Van
can
Horn.
say things like this. But Mike, you can't avoid my question here. Offensively, what does this lineup need to do? And with Dave Van Horn, you got to kind of stick with a lineup at this point as much as you've been changing it during the regular season.
He said he knows what his lineup is. The only change would be right-handed pitchers at starters as opposed to left-handed. He might shuffle that a little bit. I actually think they've been hitting the ball pretty well lately. If you really look at what went on in Hoover, I think there were some guys that had some would have been big hits, and there were great defensive plays, a catch at the outfield. You hit it right to somebody, and it's a double play.
Yeah.
But there were some guys that really hit well. I mean, Peyton Stovall was solid there. But what about Peyton Holt? He had that one game where he hit 2 home runs, 4 RBI in that game. He's batting over 300. I like Sprague a lot. I think he's striking out less. Ben McLaughlin's looking good. That, you know, you sit here and you say, do they get Diggs going? I don't know.
Yeah.
He's so valuable out there in right field that I feel like they're just going to continue to hope maybe something breaks through with him. He had in one of the games, I think it was the South Carolina game in Hoover, he had a base hit, which got him on base, and then he eventually scored.
Yeah.
Even something like that, where you're involved in the offense, that's what they got to hope they get from him.
And that's what Dave said after that loss to Kentucky. We just got to get production up and down the lineup. And I don't hate leading off with Kendall Diggs, in my opinion. They did it against Kentucky. And for me, you're just sending your veteran guy a message. We still believe in you. Just go be you and get into that box and have confidence again.
Well, if he's healthy, and that's the thing, I give some credit to Dave Van Horn of throughout the season going to him, even knowing that he's not 100%. That was the big thing is like he got hurt. And when you hurt, you know, anywhere of your upper body, the shoulder, that can affect your swing. And I've talked to people on social media about that. If he's not 100% healthy, he's not going to produce as much as the Kendall Diggs we all know and love. So I think you're right. You're sending a message to him. We still trust you. We still believe in you. And I like what Dave Van Horn said in that press conference, that we're as healthy as we've been all year. That shows to me they feel pretty confident in the guys in the lineup.
And that's what I like to hear, because remember the collision he had with Peyton Stovall? I watched that in that game against Kentucky, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This dude already shoulder messed up.
I was screaming, no,
and I was
stop.
like, what are you doing? And I know it got deja vu a little bit. Luckily, it wasn't a national championship kind of game. But you're happy to hear that right now, what you're telling us is Kendall Diggs is feeling better than he has in a while.
The other factor here is Hudson White, because he was on a tear. He was hitting a lot of home runs, and then he kind of didn't do much in Hoover. So hopefully that's just an off weekend. I'm going to go ahead and say I think he's going to hit at least one home run in this regional and maybe two.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes here, guys. The field, and I know that when we entered 2023, that TCU team as a 2 seed was scary. I like this field a lot better in terms of being manageable for Arkansas to get through. And I think that's not a knock on these teams. It's not going to be easy by any means, but I think it's a regional Arkansas can win if they handle their business.
Nobody has beaten them twice in any weekend all season long. The most number of games, and it only happened 3 times, that they've lost at home in a series is 1 game. Who's going to beat them twice? I just don't think anybody does that. I don't care who it is. And I don't think it could be a combination. I don't think they're going to lose twice in a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I like what Mike says. I think you're exactly right. That's the thing that we've been going to all year. They play extremely well at Baum-Walker Stadium. So when you look at them getting a number 5 national seed and being able to host not regionals but supers, if they can get there, you feel really confident. I also think the NCAA gave them a bone with this regional, and that is not hating on any of these teams. You just said that. I agree as well with that sentiment, because me and Mike have said all week long, we've looked at the 4 seed in SEMO, and we're like, whoa, that's a pretty good 4 seed right there. So you look at all these teams, you know they're all talented this time of year, but like Mike, I don't think Arkansas is being beat by any of these teams twice. They've got to do it twice, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be fun, too. It starts on Friday at 2 o'clock against Southeast Missouri State. Quickly, the biggest conversation and topic right now is the field and the fact that Florida got in over College of Charleston. Mike, what you think?
It's just unfair. It's just
Why?
unfair.
Why
It's
is it
totally
unfair? No, Mike, tell me why you
because
think that.
deserving teams got left out.
We just wanted to get your go. Look, see your face? See it?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why they put him in. The number 1 strength of schedule in the nation. You don't leave them out. Come on, guys. Come on.
They're just
People
bad
are going to
this
argue
year.
with me
They're
in there.
just bad this year. Bad conference record, bad overall record, losing record. I mean, any measure you want to have, the only thing they've got is strength of schedule. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's why they're terrible, because they played a lot of good teams.
They played a very tough. They played a very tough schedule this year. Come on.
Charles College of Charleston should be in the field. All right, guys, that's going to do it for PTN Extra. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.